Now. On your mark, Gazette, go.
Yeah, okay.
How are you?
We're good. I'm good. Yeah.
We watched Young Lions.
Oh, tell me. I need to know what you think.
I thought it was fine, but I am really tired of World War II movies. Like when we do this, link to actors, it's like I'm tired of, like, we need some female, although they all had female love interests or whatever you want to call it, and some of the westerns didn't have that. But yeah, I'm tired of World War II movies. I thought it was done fine. Sure.
Really?
It was a documentary-ish thing.
Really? I loved it.
Well, you love World War II.
No, I mean, I certainly like that, but it wasn't even that much of a World War II movie in my brain, other than it's the most talking about the Hitler and the Jewish thing, and
yes,
in way more than most movies would have that kind of.
Well, they had the perspective of the German side with Christian. So
they have a perspective. They showed that it, because I really liked him having the struggle, the Marlon Brando character having the struggle of, well, we're just a good group of people, and we don't need to kill people for this. I don't want to kill people for this. Like,
yeah, he tried really hard not to, didn't he?
You need to kill people, you don't kill them. And the other guys go, no, you follow orders and you kill everybody. If you're told to kill everybody, you just do it, and don't be such a wuss.
Yeah.
And you see him struggle with that.
Yeah, and I thought I didn't think they needed 3 hours to tell that story, though, I guess.
So I remember seeing the first 20 minutes, and it's, starting the war part happening, and I was going, oh, it's going to be a bunch of war stuff. And I stopped after the first 20 minutes, and then I go, oh, it's going to be a tough movie. And then I started watching the rest, and I'm going, oh, this is a character of the people and their love interests and their hopes and their dreams of what this war could be. And yeah. I love the Dean Martin character. I love the women in it. I like Montgomery Clift's the girl he meets, and then they get married, and his struggle he has to go through. I'm so glad they didn't hide the whole anti-Semitism in the U.S.
Yes,
it's high in World War II.
Yes, and the fact that people, fellow soldiers in the army, could be really bad to each other. That would be terrible. There's my hubby. There he is. Say hi.
Okay.
How's it going, Martin?
Hi, Jeff. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Well. I can't hear a thing you're saying. So.
No, because I'm on headphones. But he actually watched the movie with me.
Oh, what do you think?
So,
it was a really good movie.
Really good movie. He liked it too.
Yeah, me too.
Sure, it was good. Like I'm tired of all the testosterone and the bombs and stuff. Mostly after The Longest Day, and then this one, and in between was a Western. And it's like that's a lot of. But yeah, it's based on a novel by Erwin Shaw. I really like the idea that they had at the beginning, that if you believe in something hopeful, you can rise above your class by joining the army. When your life seems to be slated into a certain, socioeconomical outcome, you can change things by joining the army and doing well, and you can send your career, your life in a different direction, which I thought that was pretty interesting too.
So I didn't even get that, because you saw all the being in the army, and if you knew somebody, you could get away with something else, and you could not be sent to the front lines if you know a general. And
right,
like in other words, I agree with that, only to a minor degree, that going into the army lets you step out of a class, because most of the time, like Montgomery Clift was Jewish, Ackerman, and he couldn't get out of that. He was stuck as a low-level Jew, and they didn't care about him, and
yep,
and that's how they treated him. And I really liked that, because at the beginning, when they really were, they had the little New Year's Eve party, and the little kid came dressed out with the Hitler outfit on, and the Germans are all laughing and loving it, and she's going, "Oh my God, how can you like a guy like Hitler?" At that moment in time, Hitler wasn't a bad guy even to the West.
Right.
I mean, he was. Some would question that he had thoughts of conquering, and is he going to go too far? But like the whole killing Jews and stuff, I would tend to think at that moment in time, even a lot of Americans wouldn't have been so upset at that kind of thing. Jews were not liked in America at that time.
Yeah.
Funny how, like, you don't really think of anti-Semitism until all this stuff happens right now with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict thing. And all of a sudden there's a lot of anti-Semitism around.
Yeah.
All of a sudden there's a lot of people who are still willing to have all the Jews die. And let's what is it, from the river to the sea, and it's all ours, and we kill them all. And it's just, that's way more prevalent than I thought. And I somehow just assumed that they were letting that go in the Arab/Muslim world, and they're not.
Right.
They that's just it's eye-opening for me.
Yeah. No, it's war is still happening. Just because we live in a peaceful country doesn't mean that the same kind of stuff isn't still happening. I like the Longest Day gave you the perspective of a whole bunch of different people on that same day. This was, a different perspective. We saw the Christian character. He was in North Africa, and we saw some of a little bit of the D-Day invasion kind of times. So yeah, we just got another sort of perspective of the war. Soldiers, one who is, Noah was Jewish and meek and not confident and things like that. And the Dean Martin character, he was a playboy, suave and sophisticated, and yet he had the best line when he said something along that line, that in 10 years we won't be fighting, and these people won't be our enemies. So I don't really want to be fighting.
Yeah. Look, I've read all the books. I know that in 10 years, we'll be bosom friends with the Germans and the Japanese. And I'll be pretty annoyed that I was killed.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I like some of the stuff. I did a little bit of, not reading the reviews, but reading up, like Montgomery, Clift. I knew the name, but I didn't know any of his other work that I could think of. Like, he has a face that kind of blends in, and so I didn't know too much about him. And what was neat is this was the first dramatic role for Dean Martin after he broke up with Jerry Lewis as a partner.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So this was.
He broke up with Jerry Lewis in 58.
I think so. I don't know how old he was in this, but yeah.
No. The movie was done in 58. So I just assumed he did movies with Jerry Lewis in the 60s.
Well, there was comments that these characters were all too old to being recently drafted, and so it's like, I don't know. I guess they were taking everybody at one point or another.
Or I think if you'd be called in for the draft if you were under 45 or something like that.
Well, that Captain Hardenberg, that was an interesting character, played by Maximilian Schell, who was someone else I didn't really know, but apparently he was not English was not his first language, and so he was learning English, and apparently Marlon Brando was helping him with his lines because he was learning it phonetically because he didn't speak English that well. So thinking that Marlon Brando is helping him learn his lines, just kind of, I didn't expect, like, Marlon Brando is supposed to be this genius, and I've seen him in a few things, and I thought, okay, he's good, but is he genius? I don't know. He just seems to mumble a lot, and I didn't think he's that great of an actor. But yeah, I appreciated what he did. I thought when I thought of him doing a German character, I thought, oh boy, he can't do an accent like anything. Like, that would be, laughable. But he actually, I thought, pulled it off.
So there's on IMDb, it says trivia. Montgomery Clift commented upon Brando's performance during the filming. he called Brando a slob and that he was using only about 1/3 of his talent.
Yeah.
I really like Brando in this.
I thought he did a good job.
I really believed in his character, had that conflict. I didn't like and loved how he died. I thought their paths were going to cross, and
Yes.
then they would talk to each other,
Yes,
and he
learn
would say his
something.
story of I didn't mean to want to kill anyone,
Or something.
and just something. But it became so. I wish there could have been another one, but I sort of liked that he's on his own trekking through, and then he's just shot and lands in water and dies alone, and you know what I mean, like all his character and how enticing he was as a good human. He was on the wrong side and he ends up dying a very tragic kind of death.
Yeah.
Because you loved him a little bit. You believed in him more than every other German. You know what I mean? Like you went, I have hope for German people now.
Yeah. Well, and the thing of when his captain, what's his name? Harding, whatever his name was, Maximilian Schell's character. For one, he sends Christian to Marlon Brando to his wife, who ends up not being, that faithful or anything like that. And then you saw the difference between her before the war and then in the middle of the war, she's got nothing and everything's miserable. And like I liked seeing that. I won't say fall, but I wouldn't have. It didn't seem to be as genuine when some people are just tripped their way through the war. I mean, the real bad people did because they were stealing stuff and whatever. Just finished watching The Monument Men. That was pretty good too. It's another taste on the war again. I thought that was really done well as well. I think, yeah, and trying to get them back where they were taken. I think one of the more touching scenes was when near the end when they went to the concentration camp and the rabbi said, "Please let us have services. Please let us hold services." I thought that was, and apparently, a lot of the characters playing the concentration camp victims were actually people who were there at the time.
Well, you think you wouldn't want to go into play that character after being there, like and of course Sergeant Schultz comes out.
Yeah, I know, John Banner. It's like what?
And he played a German who pretended he was liking the Americans, but he still had that German in him to say, no, don't do that. Don't be nice to the Jews. That's not going to work out well for you. And then the guy said, no, I'm going to let them do what they want. And you're the bad guy. And you're going to be in trouble. I liked everything about the movie except the very beginning when they really dissed the Marlon Brando character for the whole Adolf Hitler thing. Because at the beginning, Adolf Hitler, I mean, he was the first leader to bring in animal rights. Like you could shoot a dog and kick a dog and everybody just like laugh at you. And he made you could kill a Jew, but you can't kill a dog, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like he loved animals, and so he was very progressive on a lot of fronts. Just ended up not liking the Jews enough to cause that problem. But the world didn't like the Jews. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That was known by everybody that, the Americans had this guy fighting on their side, willing to kill the Germans, and you want to make life as difficult for him as you can in boot camp.
Well, you kind of tend to forget, because we didn't live through that time, but during World War II and the American Civil War, and when some of the people went off to war, when some of the town, when some of your family, and the ones that didn't were kind of, chided for not doing it. I mean, that was on the German side as well as, the Ally side. So people were, I think the only war that I don't know about is, as popular opinion, was the Vietnam War. I think there was a lot of criticism around that one.
For going to war.
Yeah, for straight out
baby killers.
Yeah, but the rest of them were kind of like, no, we're all on board and be very patriotic, and yeah, it was all part of how you were serving your country. And like Remembrance Day, we still look back at that as they're heroes. And
when World War I broke out, everybody was happy they got to go off to war.
Yeah,
it was like we can do this, and it was a totally meaningless war. It's about the most meaningless war you could have. Didn't need to start. It was, the Habsburg Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and somebody was shot, and everybody said, "I'll back you, I'll back you," and they all just kept going. And then they'd even ended in worst kind of scenario. It ended to create World War II 20 years later. That's what what they set up.
Yeah, the reparations that were forced to be made set Germany up to have someone like Hitler try and get them through that.
Yeah, give them a strong leader is what you need. And
you have to, yeah. And of course they're going to flock towards a strong leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, those kind of things are important. But a couple of things. When Christian had said, wait for the sun to come up before you start shooting them and stuff like that, he had these little things that made him sort of like, I won't say brilliant, but very thoughtful. And then they have like that motorcycle scene where they're driving that motorcycle. It's like green screen behind them, and it's like they passed the same burning tank 3 times. It reminded me of the Flintstones when he pedals.
Yeah.
And they go running through the house, and they pass the same dresser 4 times. But yeah, I mean, it costs so much to make those movies. I think they actually used footage from the war.
Some of it, there was an airplane,
a couple of
pinned down, and it was pretty dirty film footage. But I really liked the character development. I like Dean Martin. I loved Montgomery Clift in this.
Mm-hmm.
I loved how he met the girl and wanted her so bad, and fell in love with her so quickly. And he followed her all the way home, and then he didn't know how to get back. And I know,
and then he wanted to meet her father, and he didn't know how well that would go. And
nobody did, and you weren't sure at all whether the father was going to accept him, and then he accepts him, and freaking awesome.
Yeah, that was good. And then he found out he was going to have a baby and everything. Yeah, so that part, yeah, I mean, you wanted things to go well for him. You're really rooting for him. Apparently, Montgomery Clift and both he and Dean Martin were pretty chummy and would party around a lot. But they were pretty, abusing drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. That was just that's what they did at the time. He died quite young, Montgomery Clift.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't remember how young, but and this movie was done after I think he had an accident. He went to Liz Taylor's place and drove the canyon and had a car accident, and some part of his face was a little roughed up. So there was some concerns that, would he make it? The one thing I didn't like about the female parts is I couldn't tell them apart. There's the dark-haired girls. They were all the same to me. There's one was a blonde. Okay, I know who you are, but the other ones I couldn't even tell if it was the same person or not.
But who was the women were the very first blonde?
Sure.
Now, was that blonde Dean Martin's girl? I think it was.
Yeah.
I think it was Dean Martin's girl, because she goes, "Oh, back home, the guy doesn't even know I exist." Remember,
right?
They're skiing, and she goes, "Stay one more night with me."
Yeah, but I don't know if that's the same person or if it was a new one. The next one he meets, the one who said, "Let's get married before you go," and he said no.
No, something. Did I read it in here where it mentioned something about that?
Yeah, so I couldn't tell any of the females apart. I couldn't tell if they were
the 2 French girls you could tell apart.
Yeah, sure, they were standing next to each other, but you could have moved her in as Marlon Brando's girl, and I wouldn't have known which one. Yeah,
no, I noticed them very, very distinctly differently, and I really like the line when the girl that Marlon Brando, Francis or something, he was sort of partnered up with her. She goes, I don't want to meet anybody because I don't want to have my head shaved, because that's what they did to the women who dated the German. They would shave their heads and spit on them and rip all their clothes off and make them walk through the town. This is after World War II. I've been reading a lot of seeing documentaries lately on what happened after World War II. And the stories are as rich as this kind of movie, because like what happened to Germany and after the war was over for the next year and a half was hell. Like worse than war, because the general population, like all the women were raped by the Russian soldiers and the American soldiers, and they, you know what I mean? They're just, that's what happened.
And that's a perspective we don't know, because we know the Dutch side of what happened when the, you know, finally the liberation came, and so that's, we know of that, but we don't know what it was like in Germany, because
they were the victors. So yeah, when you're on the victor's side, the war's over. Awesome. Things are so much better.
Yeah.
What happened to Germany after the war, that's not what happened. They took, you know, umbrage with what they thought was done to them, and they went, let's pay a little bit of payback here. Same way that the Germans stole from everywhere, the museums and stuff. Well, they turn around and steal from all the Germans as much as they could. There's a lot of stories of people, you know, stealing paintings and hiding them, and then going back 30 years later to go pick them up, and, you know, where they hid them in basements of castles. And there's tons of intriguing stories about post-World War II things that went on. Yeah.
Sure. I was reading here that Irwin Shaw wasn't happy about Marlon Brando's portrayal because it was sympathetic towards the Nazi. Like he had a bit of a sympathetic character in a lot of ways. And I'm wondering if a better story would be if he didn't get shot at the end, but it's kind of like with all the propaganda, you can't have a good German survive the war because they all have to be evil, and so you have to shoot them. I wonder if that's sort of the perspective.
But he was a sympathetic character, and you did like him. He never.
Oh yeah.
He was bullied by his German commander.
Sure.
When he tried hard to not be a ruthless killer individual.
Yep.
And so you certainly did have sympathy for him. I was hoping he'd live because I liked his character, but I sort of liked how he sort of died alone, and even after he trekked through it, he sort of had I almost was hoping that when he fell in the water that he'd live. You know what I mean? Like he'd put his head up after and he'd make his way to safety, kind of thing. But I like Brando's character a ton. I really. And they had the dyed blonde hair to show he was Aryan, and
and the accent he did rather well. Like I was sort of impressed by it. I wonder if our next movie will either be with Marlon Brando or Montgomery Clift.
Let's see what we got with him. Suddenly Last Summer, Judgment at Nuremberg.
Oh no! Not another German.
Well, that's what we're talking about. That's post World War II.
Yeah.
Somebody else. I could have picked that movie because somebody else was in there. Oh, Maximilian Schnell is in there. Judy Garland.
Okay.
I've been looking at Judy Garland movies lately, and that's one she's in.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, Burt Lancaster.
Okay, next year we're gonna pick someone like Julia Roberts, and we're gonna go, you know, back and forth between her and Tom Hanks. We're gonna have these lovely, sweet, romantic comedies.
They have to be in the rom-com.
Okay. Well, the thing is you pick, like, once you pick, you get to a certain decade, you're kind of limited unless you like. Okay, I guess like Dean Martin might have starred in like Cannonball Run with a cameo, and so
you can get into the 70s, into the 80s.
Then you can get into the 80s. But other than that, you start to limit yourself to the decades you can do when you're following, you know, certain actors or actresses.
I like movies from the 50s and 60s and 40s and stuff. I'm really liking these movies that we're watching. I'm thrilled about it. So yeah, for sure we'll pick something like Judgment at Nuremberg and stick with keep World War II intact.
I'll make you watch The Hiding Place, which is a Christian one. So it's like,
Okay, you can make a Christian one.
yeah, Dean Martin and Montgomery Clift were both considered too old for their characters. This was the second film after his break with longtime partner Jerry Lewis, but it was his first dramatic role. And Montgomery Clift and Dean Martin became friends. They ran lines together, and this apparently during the party sequence when he thought that Dean Martin was nervous, Clift hid under the piano and began tickling Martin's leg, and he hit until he started laughing. So just these little things that, you know, just kind of make you go, oh, yeah. Some of the extras who appear in the concentration camp scenes were actually former inmates of the Struthof camp where the scenes were filmed.
Huh. Well, I was so ready for it to be a sort of boring war movie, and I saw the women in the listing, and I went, "How are they going to fit women into the World War II movie? Like, how did that?"
Well, they did a good job of the different women and their different reactions, and the loving wife, and then the captain, Captain Maximilian Schell's wife. She was just, you know, all kinds of trouble, I think, in the long run. But yeah.
Yeah, you didn't know if Marlon Brando slept with her that first time he brought her the lake.
Yeah,
well, could sure he did.
Could be.
Yeah, she kept saying, "Stay, stay." And she got him drunk. She went away, back, and he's now drunk. And she comes back, and she's trying really hard. So now it's his superior officer's wife. So you tend to think you might stay away from that.
Yeah. Well, and it was funny when he got kind of blown up, and he's there with the typical, you know, whole head is wrapped in bandages with a little straw to breathe from. And it's like, oh, I wonder what he really looked like, because he looked like he was in pretty rough shape, and he asked for the bayonet. Turns out he killed himself with it. It's like, oh my goodness, that was pretty.
I liked how he just left him, and he comes to his wife, and then she said, "Oh, I don't want him back." You know what I mean? I told him I'm not in. Yeah, he said, "Of course she'll have me back. I'll get into politics." That was his little way of proving to him the bayonet is not for suicide.
Right.
I'm going to kill this other guy. He asked me to. Yeah. And so now that makes his character go, yeah, I'll give him the bayonet. At least he's not going to kill himself, and he's really helping somebody else who's begging for it. And,
yeah.
Okay, I can do it. There's enough positives. He told me about his future and how he's going to do it. His wife had already said to him, "I don't want you anymore." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stay away.
Yeah. And
that's why he slapped her or hit her or whatever he did to her when he was coming onto him again.
Some of the Desert War footage was taken from the British Oscar-winning documentary Desert Victory from 1943. So that's where they got that footage from. Was from another movie. So, according to a book, production filming of Young Lions, they had the misfortune to hit torrential rains in almost every location, and was struck also by a locust plague. Yeah, so apparently the Dean Martin character was first intended for Tony Randall. I just can't imagine Felix Unger playing that part.
I don't know.
Well, I'm sure he could. And okay, the name is Michael Whitaker, but it's spelled Whitacre, Whiteacre. But they say Whitaker.
Huh.
Isn't it Whitaker spelt with a K-K-E-R?
Normally, but
yeah, but they called him that. So, but they picked Dean Martin because they wanted there to be an actor from each of the four major entertainment sectors. They wanted someone from nightclubs, from recordings, from televisions and movies. So, so the casting is really carefully vetted, because they want to get, okay, if you get a Broadway star, or if you have someone who's in the nightclubs or vaudeville or whatever it was, that they wanted, they wanted a variety so that they would have people coming. So yeah, it was supposed to be Tony Randall and Eddie Fisher, who had been married to
Elizabeth Taylor?
Debbie Reynolds. he had taught. He had said that he almost won the role of Michael Whitaker.
You know Carrie Fisher, which is Debbie Reynolds' daughter, right?
Yeah.
So Carrie Fisher had like one of the funniest lines. She was on one of the late night talk shows. I think it was Craig Ferguson, and she said she was telling us, like, they're sort of saying, "Who are you? Tell everybody who you are." Well, I'm Carrie Fisher. I'm the daughter of Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher, and Eddie Fisher left my mom when.
Elizabeth
Taylor's husband died in a car accident or whatever it was, plane accident. And my father went and consoled her with his penis. The way she said that line, he consoled her with his penis.
Oh, so yeah. It's clear what she thought about him in a lot of ways. But it's funny how these are all tangled up because Montgomery Clift, he had that accident coming away from a party at Elizabeth Taylor's.
Oh, wow.
And Elizabeth Taylor was a big supporter of gay actors. And Rock Hudson was one, but so was Montgomery Clift, apparently.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So that was back in the day when that was, shocking, and you could the press couldn't hear anything about that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd have been toast. But yeah, this is the first full movie Montgomery Clift made following his car accident. As with subsequent films, the actor was usually photographed from his best side. So I guess there was some.
Well, he had to do those fighting scenes too.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, he's never hit in it, but he's certainly ducking and jiving and landing and rolling, and that must have been hard for him.
Yeah.
He's being beat up. Yeah, no, certainly a movie worth everything about it, and teaches you a bit about World War II.
Yeah, and the different perspectives. I did enjoy that, but I'm not saying it was a bad movie. I'm just saying I'm getting tired of World War II movies.
No, for sure, we'll do Judgment at Nuremberg next night. In 1947, 4 German judges. This is good. With 1947, we're way past World War II.
Way past 2 years. So is it like a documentary almost?
No, because it's got Montgomery Clift, Spencer Tracy, Burt Lancaster. No.
Lots of people.
Judy Garland, Maximilian Schell, Marlene Dietrich.
Oh, so we've got 2 stars you could.
William Shatner. So it's in 1947. Oh, Werner Klemperer. So that's cool.
John Banner and Werner Klemperer.
Yeah. So we do have to watch.
Okay. Okay.
Pretty much assured.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Jeff's gonna give Anita choices. Anita, what choice would you like? Would you like Judgment of Nuremberg, or would you like Judgment of Nuremberg?
So then we can do like Burt Lancaster or Spencer Tracy.
Well, if you go to Burt Lancaster, then you come back to the movie Airport, which would be Dean Martin. And
Atlantic City. He's in Atlantic City. I like that movie. That's 1980.
Haven't seen that one.
That's a pretty good movie. Susan Sarandon, one of her first roles. Oh, it wouldn't be her first, but early on for her. And he's an old man. Does she fall for him? I don't remember. She falls for him. But.
Yeah. So if you're going to watch a World War II movie, this would be a good one to watch. It would be among the ones that you should kind of, if you want to get a perspective on what the war was like and how they treated it cinematically. This would be, I think.
Yeah. Of all the ones that we've watched, I think it showed you the real harsh reality of the prison camps, and then the Germans, oh no, it's all right, it's just what we do kind of attitude. And then some Germans didn't like that attitude. Like even him, when Marlon Brando went to the prison camp, he didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
I said, no, you're like me. We know to be Germans and follow orders. And
well, yeah, there was a good line about that, when you're a soldier, you follow orders. They don't want you to be, thinking and having opinions. You're just supposed to follow orders.
Oh, yeah, especially if you're like Germany and you are used to that kind of structure from you're brought up that way. You know what I mean? You don't make your own decisions because you're working for a better, bigger goal than you, which is the fatherland. And that's what they taught you. But I mean, Americans do it too. You die for your country, not. I mean, the whole patriot thing. Every country has to do that. And then,
And what I like too is Noah, who's kind of gets beat up by his fellow soldiers and all that stuff. Eventually, he's fairly heroic, and so is the Playboy.
Dean Martin.
Yeah, so I thought that was, you see the evolution of the characters. So,
Well, he did it because the woman said you're a wuss if you don't go to war. Essentially, like she was laughing at him for him saying, "But I'm a chicken. I don't want to go. I don't want to die."
Yeah.
Like
but that's a lot of people felt that way, so he gave voice to that. I appreciated that. And the idea of getting called up, and when you're called up and you have to wait until you all go, and the draft, and it's like a lottery and you get number picked and that kind of stuff. It's like we don't know what that felt like, but it gives you a little taste of it. That
I wonder if AI is going to help us out of wars in the future. Like if we let AI come up with the decisions, like the Ukraine-Russia thing, just say to AI, solve this for us. You know what's going on. You know how many ethnic Russians there are in that area. You know what Russia wants. You know what the West wants. Let's just parse up the land the way you find it's going to be best long-term historical relaxation of all the people. And so here's the best way. And then you just do it. And then both countries go, okay, we'll just... Because, I mean, Ukraine would be so much better if they would just go give that land to Russia. You know what I mean? Like just do it and then work really hard with the stuff that you have. And not every country is going to be that country forever. That's the problem. We all think that way. You know what I mean? Like even Canada, at one point in this future, it will be Quebec will go on its own and the Maritimes will be its own. And probably Alberta and Saskatchewan and BC will be on their own, and the Manitoba and Ontario become their own country. And, that's just what works. Like I tend to think something like that's going to happen.
One day. Yeah, could be. It almost did a number of times. We came really close a number of times.
Well, how does that not happen if Quebec secedes? You know what I mean? You sort of, Maritimes are together, they have the same thought process, and they'll become their own country. There's a little bit of that kind of talk around here anyways. You hear of it.
Yeah, because you live in the Maritimes.
Yeah. So and I know Alberta's mentioned it many times. And so
many times.
They talk about wanting to be their own country. So I tend to think you could split Canada up into a few, and maybe one or two of those join the U.S., become a state. You know what I mean? Like Ontario joins the states, and I tend to think that might happen. Why not become a state? America would love it. They'd have a reach all the way up to Hudson Bay if they got Ontario to join them.
Oh, and when you look at the map and having Alaska with BC in between it doesn't make any sense.
I know. So maybe BC becomes a state, and then Saskatchewan, Alberta become their own country.
Oh, they become landlocked, and you can't get out. Stuff like that. There's all kinds of stuff. I'll figure it out.
It's all workable with
sure.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a big problem nowadays. You can figure there's a lot of
figure it out.
Prospering countries out in
so you can have your own Olympic teams. You can make your own bobsled team for cool runnings.
Yeah.
It's all good. You can make the Olympics because you'll be just part of the Maritimes frisbee playing.
No, I will not make the Olympics.
No.
Big snow today, or big snow, enough snow that
you had. Oh, we haven't had anything yet, so.
No, it'll go away tomorrow or the next day. It's just all going to be 7 degrees.
And anything we get to will be.
Today it was the first day that we've had below 0 during the day.
Yeah.
And it was 23 degrees on Saturday. It was beautiful. I'm sitting outside and eating.
So I'm going to try and get Grimsby done before Christmas.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know if I'm going to, because it might mean more than once a week. But I'm getting close, and then that'll be the second, because Hamilton was considered one town. flip it big. So it really shouldn't have been. It should be divided up. But
Then once you're done Grimsby, are you done? Or are you still more?
no, so Grimsby's probably about 8 walks. So no, so am I done? I'm done Grimsby, but I'm walking in West Lincoln.
No, but is there more that, like, of your area that you want to accomplish, or are you done what you wanted to accomplish, and you still might go to some more outskirts to?
Yeah, I'm going to keep walking. I'm running out of places to, within a half an hour of home. Like, I don't want to drive for 2 hours to walk for an hour and come back home. But that's what I'll end up doing. My dream is to walk. I would love to at one point walk on the Six Nations. And I would like to do it very intentionally with someone from the Six Nations, not necessarily the same person, but to walk around the block with someone who lives there and have them tell me their stories. And I want to listen and learn. I just think that would be the coolest thing, but that hasn't happened yet.
Have you done Caledonia?
No, I've done some of Haldeman, but it's not on the City Strides map yet even. Neither is Brant. So Brant is what surrounds Brantford. Brantford is a little donut.
How about take Hamilton proper and walk around it twice so that you circle that really harsh on your walking mapping thing?
No, because there's places that I've walked.
Outside of that, I get it, but if you circle exactly Hamilton, then when you look at your thing, you go, oh, and that is the thing you were only really meant to do.
No.
Everything else becomes.
Yeah, no, I can, on the City Strides map, I just say Hamilton and they put a great big blue line around it and it's like, it's done for me. So now I'm crawling outside of the thing, crawling outside the map. So yeah, no, it's been fun. My TikToking is getting close to 100 for
the followers.
Oh, the TikToking of the walking.
Oh, the number of TikToks. How many followers do you have?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't even watch that or know how to do that. I'm sure it's there somewhere. Yeah, like I don't follow people. I don't follow anyone really.
Oh, okay.
I did like Stacy. I've been talking. Stacy's commented. She's a what do you call it? TV. Knows TV stuff.
Yeah. She will know the birthday of Elizabeth Montgomery. Elizabeth Montgomery. She'll know the first air date of Bewitched. She will know
no. Oh, you're frozen. I'm frozen. One of us. Oh, you're back again.
Yeah. She knows so many little details of stuff that you would like, and you and her would you both love Carol Burnett, and you would get into incredible discussions of.
Did you know that Harvey Korman was not on the last season of Carol Burnett?
I sort of remember that. Yeah,
he left, and Dick Van Dyke came on.
Oh, I didn't know he replaced him.
Yeah, well, I don't know that he was replaced, but yeah, he took on those roles, and that one sketch, that Mama sketch where Tim Conway is talking about the Siamese elephants.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the guy, I could never figure out who that guy was because I knew it wasn't Harvey Korman, but then it's Dick Van Dyke, and it's like, well, why is he there? So I don't know if they called him Ed, or if they just made him a brother or something else. So I don't know how they solved Harvey Korman's being gone that last year. Probably should look that up somehow. That would be interesting to know.
Okay, I'm glad we mentioned Stacy's name. She'll probably be still watching till now, and
there's hardly anyone who watches.
Honorable mention. She watches. Watch the whole thing.
Yeah. And Frances had told me that she watches sometimes. So I'm even more impressed if Frances. Like when I say I'm more impressed, when people talk about my walking, they say, "Oh, I'm impressed." It's like, no, you should even be more impressed because you don't realize what a lazy butt I am. And how non-athletic I am. And, I shouldn't be doing that. It makes no sense. Yeah. It's helpful that I'm OCD.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so see y'all next. See, all of our fans next month when we watch the Judgment of Nuremberg.
Who is our sponsor today? I forget who sponsors this podcast.
I have no idea.
Brought to you by
Apple.
Brought to you by
Visa.
Visa.
You have to be holding up something.
Yeah.
I
always wanted to pretend some of the big sponsors were mine and just say they're our sponsor and to say a nice word about them. And so people watching will go, really? You got them as sponsors? So you're actually pretending, you say that they're...
We should.
Yeah, just totally pretend we have a sponsor. So you'd mention a sponsor that normally would sponsor something on, like Ridge Wallet. Ridge Wallet sponsors a lot of things. And
well, we got to get one that doesn't sponsor too many things, and then they will be shocked that they sponsor us little people.
No, it's the other way around. If Ridge Wallet does a lot of podcasts, so we do Ridge Wallet, it sounds like we're authentic. Like they would.
Is there someone who would never do, like we should get like.
No, you go to ridgewallet.com /
I've never heard of Ridge Wallet.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's a big one. Go to Ridge Wallet, Anita Jeff. Anita /
sponsored. I'm not going to go off this because the computer's been acting funny, so I don't want to pull up too much stuff and do much.
Yeah. No, we can do it another time.
But sponsored by Amazon. Oh no, Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, can have them sponsor us, and then they can give us cease and desist.
No. That's when you give free sponsorships away, they will give you a cease and desist.
That's what Penn Jillette said. If you want to have a good magician duo name, he says we weren't Penn and Teller. We should have been cease and desist. Because
we get all their mail.
That's why we get it all the time. It's cease and desist. Cease and desist.
That's actually good.
Bob cease and Sam desist.
Okay.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.